Hey guys, it's Alexandra from EyeLoveKnots.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a floral table runner. These flowers are worked in a join as you go manner. So you work one flower up first, then you add on extras in that row until you get the number of flowers that you want. Then you add on the next flower and then add on in that row as well to make it match. After you have at least 2 rows of flowers, you can go in and add these little leaves in between. This is one of my favorite projects. I've worked up so many different variations, and not just a table runner, but a wall hanging, a cardigan, a doily, a shawl. I'll pop the links to some other patterns worked with the same flower down in the description box below. I want to show you some of the other color combinations that I've done, so I will include photos of those. This little flower is perfect for scraps of yarn because they don't use that much, just about 12 yards per flower. That's 6 yards of the color in the center and then 6 yards of the petal color. So if you've been saving those scraps of yarn, not knowing what to do with them, this is an excellent project for that. The little leaves in between use even less, so if you have scraps of green, you could do a variety of colored leaves. I received a request for a video tutorial showing how to add a border to this table runner. So the original table runner does not have a border. It is 4 flowers across and it has the little leaves in between. There's only 3 leaves across. I don't have leaves on either side or at the top, and there is no final border around it. But I am going to show you in this tutorial how to add half leaves to the side and to the top and bottom, and how to add a border around it. So you can choose what you'd like to do for it. If you don't want to add a border, you can stop after you get all your flowers assembled and the whole leaves put in place. If you want to go a step further to add a border, it'll be like this right here, where you're going to have half leaves at the top and bottom, as well as on the sides where the flowers meet, and then a final border around that to give you these corner petals here and to connect everything together. You can go a step further and add additional rounds of a border on top of this, but this is where my instructions are going to stop. So you can choose if you want to just make it like the original or if you want to add a border. For this project, I'm using worsted weight number 4 yarn. The one here for my table runner is Lily Sugar and Cream. The one here on the right is We Crochet Dishy. And the sample I'm going to be showing you for the tutorials also worked in We Crochet Dishy. These are both 100% cotton yarns, but you can use any yarn that you like, as long as you're not putting anything fresh out of the oven onto it. So if you're planning on using this on your table and you're not going to have trivets down for your dishes that are coming straight out of the oven, then you're definitely going to want to make sure that you have a 100% cotton yarn, or even a wool yarn. If you use a synthetic yarn that is plastic, like acrylic, then putting anything fresh out of the oven on top of it is going to melt the yarn, which could hurt you or somebody else. So if you're planning on using this with something fresh out of the oven, 100% cotton yarn. If you're going to use this decoratively, or if you're going to have trivets down underneath your pots and pans, then you can use any yarn out of your stash. I do recommend going with something that can be washed and dried well. With it sitting on top of a table, you might have to do that. So if you're not using one of these cotton yarns, I think Red Heart Super Saver is a nice yarn, and Lion Brand Woolies. These are some of my favorite yarns that I know are durable and machine wash and dry well. I do prefer We Crochet Dishy over Lily Sugar and Cream for things that I may need to wash, just because the Dishy yarn is color fast, which means the colors are set whereas Lily Sugar and Cream are not. So I have not washed this table runner, but if I did, the colors would run and fade. Because this project is worked in a join as you go manner, you can use any yarn out of your stash. It doesn't matter the weight. You just may need to add more flowers or work less flowers to get the same size that you're looking for. Alongside this worsted weight yarn, I'm going to be using an H8 5mm crochet hook. This is my favorite crochet hook that I got from Sienna's Boutique on Etsy, and I'll pop the link for it in the description box below if you're interested, as well as some yarns that I recommend. Gauge is not essential for this project, but if you want your table runner to come out to the same size as mine, then you will need to take gauge. I'll go ahead and provide that information to you. It's going to be measured at the end of round 2. I'll also provide the finished measurement of the flower, and that's going to be measured in this direction you see, with 3 petals on the top, 3 petals on the bottom, measured from the top center all the way down to the bottom center, and then from the edge of the left side all the way across the center to the edge of the right side. I did work up a small sample for my project, so you're not going to see me working up this table runner. I'm going to be working up a sample, but I will provide a chart showing how many flowers you're going to want to have for the width and the length, depending on the size that you're working. I have been doing just one size of table runners, but I am going to work on providing a couple different sizes. So just reference the chart to see how many flowers you're going to need in total, depending on the size that you want to work. And again, you can easily customize this to any width and length that you want, just by working up more or less flowers. You're going to find the written instructions for this linked in the description box below. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with a slip knot, so I've pulled the yarn over my fingers here. I'm going to wrap it around my index finger 2 times. Hold the tension with my thumb and my middle finger. Pull the loop on the left up over the other one, but not off my finger. Then I'll pull the other one that's on the left now up over the other one I just moved and off my finger. Grab my crochet hook, insert it into the loop on my finger and pull it off. Hold the working yarn in my right hand, short tail end in my left. I'm going to pull that so this loop will go to normal tension. We're going to start with a chain 5, and then we're going to slip stitch join to form a ring, and then we'll work into that ring. If you are more comfortable doing a magic ring, you can do that, but I'm going to start with a chain 5. To chain, we yarn over and pull through the loop on our hook, yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. Each time we do that, we're going to get one of these V-shaped stitches here. Each one of those is going to be a chain. So we don't count the loop on our hook. We have 1, 2, 3 chains so far. I'm going to continue adding a couple more so that I will have 5. And now I want to slip stitch join to the first chain. So we're going to go all the way down to the bottom where we made that first chain. Hold the tension of the loop on my hook. Bring it horizontally, insert my hook right into the center of that first chain, then yarn over, pull through that stitch and through the loop that's on my hook. And now we've slip stitch joined and we have this ring here in the center to work into. We have a hole at the top where we just joined to. We want to make sure we don't work into that. That's just going to open up a little bit because this knot is not secured yet. But we want to work into that larger ring underneath. We're going to work 12 double crochets into this center ring. So we're going to start with a chain 2, and this chain 2 does not count as a stitch. Now we'll yarn over, insert our hook right into the center of that ring. When you do that, you're going to have a chain sitting on top of your hook. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through. Right now we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's going to complete our first double crochet. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook back into the center ring. As we continue to work, we're going to have that tail end held to the back of the chains. So we'll have the chain on our hook as well as that tail end. Yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook into that center ring. You have the chain and the tail end on your hook. Yarn over, pull through. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So right now I'm going to pull this out real quick. We're going to look to the top. We have these V shapes here at the top. Each one of those is going to be a stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3 double crochets. We're going to continue working so that we have 12 double crochets. And now that we have 12 double crochets, we're going to slip stitch join to the first stitch of the round. And if you're not sure where the first stitch is, it's really helpful to count backwards from where you just finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we want to insert our hook underneath both loops of that first stitch, then yarn over, pull through that stitch and the loop that's on our hook to complete a slip stitch. And now our first round is complete. I'm going to pull up a loop here. This center ring that we have, we can hold on the back side in between our middle finger and our index finger where the tail end is coming out of the center. And I have my thumb on the front. Go ahead and tug on that strand. Don't pull too tight or your strand can tear. So just pull it a little bit and it will close that up. We're going to secure that completely closed when we go to weave in our ends. We're going to have one more round in this same color. We're going to start with a chain 2. Again, that does not count as a stitch. I like to work my increases a little bit different. That's what I'm going to show you here at the beginning and at the end. But if you're more comfortable just working 2 stitches into this first stitch, go ahead and do it. But I'm going to work 1 double crochet into this very first stitch that my chain is coming out of, making sure to pick up both loops there. Then I'm going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And I'm going to continue to work 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around until I get back to the beginning. And once I get back over here, I'm going to have my last set of 2 worked into this stitch right here. And then I'm going to have 1 stitch that I'm going to work into that same stitch as the chain. At the end of this round, we're going to have 24 double crochets. So I had 1 in the first stitch, then 2 in that next stitch makes 3, 2 in the next stitch makes 5. I'm going to keep counting as I work all the way around so that I know after I get to 23 right here, I have 1 more stitch left. And there we are at the end of the round. I have 23 complete with my last set of 2. I'm going to work 1 more stitch into this next stitch, which is the same stitch that my chain is coming out of. My hook is just being inserted here to the right. And the stitch will come out to the right of the chain as well. That's going to complete 24 stitches. Now I need to slip stitch join, and when I do that I'm going to bring in my new color. So let me show you the way that is my favorite way to make a seamless color change. I'm going to insert my hook under both loops of that first double crochet. And if you're not sure where the first double crochet is, remember you can use those V shapes at the top there to count backwards from where you just finished. Insert my hook there under both loops, yarn over, pull through that stitch and the loop on my hook. That actually is the slip stitch join to complete the round. Then I'm going to put this down. I'm going to grab my new color, which is going to be white. I'm going to form a loop here near the end, leaving a tail end long enough that I can comfortably weave in. It's actually a little bit too much. And then I'm going to put this loop on my hook. So I'm going to hold the tension of the loop that's currently on there with my index finger, put the loop on my hook, hold the tension of the strands on the back. That way this loop on my hook doesn't really go anywhere. And I'm going to pull this new color through. Then I'm going to grab that original strand and I'm going to give it a tug so this yellow loop that you see there will disappear. Then I'm going to drop that to the back, drop the tail end of the new color to the back, and then I'm going to grab my working yarn, pull it down to normal tension, and start with a chain 1. If that yellow loop pops back up, you just go to the back, find the tail end, and give it a tug, and it will disappear again. This is my favorite way to change colors for this project, to get the most seamless color change right here. You can change in the last yarn over of the final slip stitch here at the end of round 2, but it completely disrupts the color change right here, and the stitches from this round are going to pull on the yellow stitches, and it really just distorts it in a way that it's not very pretty. So if you don't want to change this using this method that I just showed you to get the same look, you can slip stitch join at the end of round 2 with the yellow, then fasten off, and then reattach your new color into the first stitch. But to save me a little trouble, so I don't have to go that extra step, I just go ahead and change in this manner instead. Now I'm ready to do round 3, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and fasten off the yellow. So just leave a tail end long enough to weave in. And now I'm ready to go for round 3. We're going to work a single crochet into this very first stitch. Insert your hook into that stitch underneath both loops. Yarn over, pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through both loops. Then we're going to skip the next stitch, and in that next stitch we're going to work 3 double crochets. So I've yarned over, insert my hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's 1 double crochet. I'm going to continue working, so I have 3 double crochets, and I'm going to insert my hook all into the same stitch. So now I have 3 double crochets complete. 1, 2, 3. Going to chain 2. And I'm going to work 3 more double crochets back into that same stitch. So there's going to be 6 in total, all worked into the same stitch. This is going to create one of our petals. Then I'm going to skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch I'm going to work a single crochet, insert my hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. And then I'm going to pull up a loop really quick. Those 6 stitches in that chain are going to form our petal there, and the single crochets on both sides are going to create that curve and anchor it in place. It's going to help us with the shaping. So our repeat throughout the whole thing actually starts with the single crochet we just finished. It's going to be single crochet into that next stitch, skip the next stitch, and then in the next stitch we're going to make another petal. So we're skipping this next stitch here, and in this next stitch we're going to do 3 double crochets, all worked into that same stitch, then chain 2, then 3 more double crochets worked back into that same stitch. And then skip the next stitch. Then our repeat begins. In the next stitch, single crochet, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both loops. That's now just anchored our petal. Then skip the next stitch, and in that next stitch, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets back into that same stitch. Then we skip the next stitch. Then the repeat again, single crochet in the next stitch, skip the next stitch, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the next stitch, skip the next stitch. You're going to continue that all the way around till you're back to the beginning. Right now we have 3 petals. we're going to have 6 petals at the end of this round, and then we'll join together. Here at the end, I worked my last petal. I have 1 stitch left that I'm going to leave unworked, and then we're going to slip stitch join. To get the angle here to match the rest of them, I'm actually going to work my single crochet into the double crochet that the first single crochet was worked into. So that's the yellow double crochet underneath. So I'm going to insert my hook into that same stitch that that first single crochet is coming out of, and then yarn over and pull through the loop on my hook. And I'm going to pull up a loop here really quick. This is going to help keep the look here the same as the others. But if you don't like the way that that looks, instead you can slip stitch join to the first single crochet, or you could even slip stitch join to the first double crochet. You can experiment a little bit with it. Now I'm going to fasten off. Just make sure to leave a tail end long enough that you can comfortably weave in. Then pull up on this loop to break it. And now when I weave in my ends, I am going to secure these 2 layers closed, because right now where I slip stitch joined, this top is open. So I'm just going to secure that closed when I go ahead and weave in my ends. Go ahead and grab your tapestry needle and meet me back here so we can finish up this flower. Alright, I'm going to flip this to the back. I'm going to go for that center tail first, thread it into my tapestry needle. I'm going to work clockwise underneath those stitches all the way until I get back to the beginning. So I'm just going to insert underneath a couple stitches at a time. And this here is going to put me back at the beginning. I'm actually going to work a couple more stitches past that, and when I come out of that last stitch, I'm going to break that stitch in half with my needle. I'm going to come out through the center of it, and that's going to help capture my yarn. Hold the fabric in between your fingers as you pull so it doesn't pull on that last stitch that you came out of. Now you have that hole there in the center. Hold the fabric in between your fingers and give that strand a tug, and remember not to pull too tight. You just want to close it up, but you don't want to break your strand. Then you're going to rotate your fabric and you're going to work back in the same direction you just came from, inserting into a nearby stitch. I always break my stitches in half when I enter and exit. I don't pick up the whole stitch on my needle here like this. Instead, I insert right into the center of it to break it in half. That's going to help capture my yarn so that it is more secured. So I'm inserting into a nearby stitch, and then I'm going to run vertically through several of those same stitches I just worked through. And when I exit, I'm going to break that last stitch in half as well. Then I'm going to hold on to the fabric in between my fingers. I'm going to pull that needle through, give it a tug, then go back and use my fingers to manipulate the fabric if I need to, if it's distorted the fabric. We want it to lay naturally. I like to do 3 passes, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it, insert into a nearby stitch here, breaking it in half, run vertically through several of those same stitches, and then break my last stitch in half when I exit as well. If you feel secure after 2, you can fasten off then. If you feel like you need to work a 4th one, you can do that too. Whatever you need to feel secure with your ends. Give it a tug, use my fingers to manipulate the fabric if I need to, and then I'm ready to fasten off. Now I'm going to go ahead and come here to this last stitch that I fastened off at the end, thread that into my tapestry needle, And I'm going to bring it here from the right side, which is the front, down to the wrong side, which is the back, through that first single crochet there. So you just want to sew the 2 layers together, and since it's sitting right on top of that stitch, that's where I'm going to go ahead and insert my needle right into the center of that first stitch through both loops and come out on the back side. And you'll see the placement there. If you don't like the way the placement looks now, then go ahead and take it out and move your stitch over to the left or over to the right, wherever you need, so that the stitch placement looks the way you want it to finish. Then flip to the back side, and for weaving in this, I want to keep the white together so that it doesn't pop through any of the yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and come here to the left of where I am. I'm going to bring my needle, just wrapping it around one of the stitches there nearby so that I can get it over into the bulkiness of this petal over here. So I'm not weaving in, I'm just wrapping it around stitches so that it doesn't have any floats. It's nice and even, blends in there on the back. I'm going to do it one more time here with the stitch next to it on the left, coming from underneath this time, so that it wraps around there. And then I'm going to do it again in this next stitch here, and it's going to bring me into position to work horizontally through the bulkiness of this petal. So I'm just going to wrap around one more stitch right here, just underneath where I am. And now I'm right next to the opening for the petal. So I'm going to go ahead, break that first stitch in half here, and run horizontally through the bulkiness of those stitches from that petal, breaking my last stitch in half when I exit. Then hold on to the fabric in between my fingers. It's going to help so that it doesn't distort any of your fabric. Give it a tug and then manipulate your fabric. It's important to make sure it's laying naturally and it hasn't bunched up from where you pulled from the beginning here. Then rotate your fabric, insert into a nearby stitch, breaking it in half, run back through several of those same stitches there in the same bulkiness, and break the last stitch in half when you exit. Hold on to the fabric, pull it through, give it a tug, manipulate if you need to. One more pass for me will make 3. I'm going to manipulate it here using my needle to help me separate my stitches. I want to make sure it doesn't look bunched up, and then I can go ahead and fasten off. Now I'm going to weave in these last 2 ends using the same exact method, but this yellow one here from round 2, I'm going to weave it vertically into these double crochet stitches here. That's going to help hide it so the stitches don't bunch up horizontally. So just run it vertically up and down here. This other white one, I'm going to wrap it around my stitches to get me in place so that I can work through the bulkiness of this other petal here. Same way as I did this first one. And once I get those 2 in, then the whole flower will be ready to go. For the second flower and all the remaining flowers that you're going to have in the first row, you're going to work rounds 1 and 2 up and then change colors the same way as you did in the first flower. So that is a ring, 12 double crochets into the ring for round 1, 24 double crochets for round 2, and then switch colors to the color that you're going to use for your petals for round 3. If you need a refresher on how to work that, you can pop down into the description box below where the timestamp is and click on the one that you'd like to see. It will jump you back in the video. Once you get to this point right here, we're going to start working the petals, but we're going to join as you go to connect it to the other flower. Whether that's the first flower or you have a string of flowers, you're going to do them all the same way for the first row. So I've switched colors and I've chained one. I'm going to go ahead and single crochet into the first stitch as normal. I'm going to go ahead and tighten my stitches up here. Skip the next stitch, work your petal into the next stitch with 3 double crochets, chain 2 3 double crochets. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, skip the next stitch, work your petal into the next stitch, 3 double crochets, then chain 2 3 double crochets, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. So right now we have 2 complete petals, and we've worked a single crochet after that second petal. Skip the next stitch. In the next stitch you're just going to work 3 double crochets, the first half of the petal. Then you're going to chain 1, and then we're going to join this to the other flower. When you are attaching it, it's important that your flowers all face the same way so they have the same appearance. So I'm going to find where I joined the last stitch of my petal. That is going to line up where we started round 3. Right now in the flower that's in my hand, which is my first flower, on the bottom middle is the very first single crochet. I'm going to be working into the chain space of the petal that is to the right of it. So I'm going to set this down right in front of the flower I'm currently working, in the position I want to attach it. The reason why we do a chain 1 here instead of a chain 2 is because the stitch we're going to use to attach it is going to count as the second chain, or the second stitch. Grab the flower you're joining to and just pick it up so you can see the back of it. This is how we're going to attach our flowers, from the back of it. So right here, this is the front of the flower we're looking at. Just grab that petal we're attaching to and flip the fabric up so I can see the back of the petal. Insert my hook right into the center of that chain space from the petal, just to the right of that first stitch that I told you we were going to attach to. We're looking at the back of it, inserting right into the center of the chain space. Then yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops to complete a single crochet. Now go back to the flower you're currently working on, and into the same stitch that you worked those 3 double crochets, work 3 more double crochets to complete that petal. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop here. You can see that your 2 flowers are now connected by that single crochet that you worked into the chain space of that previous flower. We're going to join the next petal that we're about to work into that petal that is to the left of that first stitch. So the first one is joined into the petal to the right of that first stitch when it's at the bottom center. The next petal will be joined into the chain space to the left of it. So let's go back here and start our next petal. We're going to skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 1 only, Holding the working yarn in your hand so you're ready to go, go to your previous flower that you're going to connect it to, flip the fabric up so you can see the back side of it, and insert your hook into that chain space of that next petal. So you're working from the back side or the wrong side to the right side of the fabric. Then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both loops. Then go back to your current flower and finish that petal with 3 more double crochets worked into the same stitch. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, and then I'll pull up a loop here, and now you can see that both of your petals are connected by these 2 chain spaces, and then you have just a little gap right in between them. And now what you're going to do is you're going to finish working this flower as normal, working the rest of the repeat, so you'll complete the 6 petals. Right now we have 4. So you just finished a single crochet, you'll skip the next stitch, work 3 double crochets, chain 2 3 double crochets into the next stitch, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. That'll give you the 5th petal, and then you'll work the same for the 6th petal. Join as normal, fasten off your yarn, and if you want to weave in your ends as you go, I definitely recommend it so you don't end up with too many ends at the end. With 4 ends per flower, it can become one of those projects at the end that just stays for a long time in your whip bin if you don't weave in as you go, if you're the type of person like me that hates weaving in your ends. So I definitely recommend that. And this is the process you're going to take if you want to add additional flowers. You would continue to begin them the same way, and then you would join the 3rd petal to your previous flower, and then your 4th petal to the previous flower. And when you do that, you just work 1 chain. That joining stitch counts as the 2nd chain, or the 2nd stitch rather, and then you complete the 2nd half of the petal after you join it, and you do the same thing over here. And when you join, you work from the back of the fabric, so you just lift it up enough so you can see the back, and that's when you insert your hook. So the cool thing about this is you can work as many flowers as you want or as little flowers as you want, and you can measure as you go to see how wide or how tall it's going to be as you're working. For my sample here, I'm going to stop after this 2nd flower, but you're going to go ahead and use the same instructions from the 2nd flower to add as many additional flowers as you want. But I'll put up a chart that shows how many flowers you're going to want to have depending on the size that you're working. And you're going to add them the same exact way that you did this 2nd one. You're going to start your first 2 rounds, switch colors, work 2 complete petals, and then in that 3rd petal you're going to join it to what is the current square. The one that we're looking at right now, this is going to be the next one you're going to join to. So if you started a 3rd flower, your 3rd petal would be connecting to this bottom right petal. And then the 4th petal will connect to the bottom left petal that doesn't exist right now, but it will once you finish this flower. And then if you worked another one, you would move that forward and it would connect in the same position. Always so that the first stitch is at the bottom center, and all the flowers will have the same look because they're going to be all facing the same way. And you just continue in that manner until you have all the flowers that you want for your row. And what we're looking at is we're actually looking at a row. Even though it's vertical, it's actually going to be a horizontal row. So if you're measuring it to see if it's going to be the size that you want, keep in mind that you're actually measuring the width, not the length, even though we're looking at it vertically. After you get all the flowers done for row 1, rows 2 and after are going to be worked exactly the same. So it doesn't matter if you're working row 2 or row 17. The first flower is going to be worked the same and all the remaining flowers are going to be worked the same. So as you're working, I find the easiest way to work is starting in the left flower and then working to the right. That way as you join, you're working counterclockwise and crocheting around, and it's going to be the easiest to get to all your stitches this way. As opposed to if you start on the right and then you add your flower to the left of that, then you're going to have to work into the bulkiness of that previous flower. For example, here, if we did the first flower on the right, when we would add the next flower, we would join here in the first petal, here in the second petal, and then have to work all the way around to then connect the 6th petal to that previous flower and then join. So we would be working in between the flower to avoid working into the bulkiness here and any restriction as you work. It's just easier if you start the one on the left first, and then as you come to the remaining flowers, you can see that the points of joining are much easier to get to, and then it's real easy to just finish off your flower here. The very first flower is going to be worked a little differently because we're only joining to one spot. So you're going to go ahead and work up rounds 1 and 2 and switch to your petal color. If you need to, pause the video, go ahead and get that done. You can jump down into the description box below and go to the timestamp. If you need a refresher, click on any of those and it will jump you back in the video. We're going to start with a chain 1 and a single crochet in this very first stitch. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up my petal color from the back using the tail. Skip the next stitch. In the next stitch, 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets into the same stitch to complete our first petal. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. Skip the next stitch, in the next stitch 3 double crochets. This is where we're going to join, so just a chain 1 here. Then we'll go to that previous row's first petal on the left side, the bottom center petal. Flip that up so we can see the back side of it. Insert your hook into that chain space and then complete your single crochet. Then complete this petal with 3 double crochets back into the same stitch of your current flower. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. I'll pull up a loop really quick. You can see here that this flower is now connected to the previous row here at the center petal. Now we're going to continue working this flower as normal all the way around and then slip stitch join when you get to the end and fasten off. After you have the first flower complete, the second flower and all the remaining flowers in the row are going to be worked exactly the same. So you're going to start with rounds 1 and 2 and then go ahead and switch to your petal color. Then you'll start with a chain 1 and single crochet into the very first stitch. Then you'll skip the next stitch and work a petal in the next stitch, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. Skip the next stitch, work the first half of the petal, 3 double crochets into that next stitch. Chain 1, and now we're going to join here to the bottom center petal of the previous row's flower. Flip that up so we can see the back side, insert your hook into the chain space and complete a single crochet. And then complete this petal of the currant flower by working 3 double crochets into that same stitch. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. Pull up a loop really quick. You can see that we've joined in the same spot as we did with the first flower to the bottom center petal of that previous rose flower. Now we're going to continue on. Our next 2 petals are going to be joined to the corresponding petals that you see there. So the first one will be here in the top right corner chain space, and then the next petal will be in the bottom right corner chain space. So we're going to skip the next stitch, work the first half of the petal in the next stitch, 3 double crochets, chain 1, go to the next petal on the previous flower from the same row that you're working on. Top right corner chain space, flip that petal up so you can see the back side of it, insert your hook into that chain space and complete a single crochet. Then we'll complete this petal of the currant flower by finishing 3 double crochets into that same stitch. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. Skip the next stitch, 3 double crochets into the next stitch. Chain 1, go to the previous flower from the same row that you're working on. The next petal in line, which is the bottom right corner chain space, we're going to flip that petal up so we can see the back, insert into the chain space, complete the single crochet, then complete the last 3 double crochets here in the same stitch. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, and I'm going to pull up a loop. We've now joined this second flower in 3 spots, the first one being in the second petal to the flower from the previous row. Then we have 2 more points that join to the previous flower from the same row. Now we're just going to continue here finishing out this flower as normal, slip stitch join, and then fasten off. And then you'll go ahead and continue working all the remaining flowers that you have here in this row the same way. Once you've completed your row, if you need to add another row, then you'll go back and follow the same instructions. You'll work your first flower down here on the left side, joining just to that bottom center chain space. Then all your remaining flowers will be worked to the right, and they'll be joined in 3 points the same way as we've just done. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up weaving my current ends, and then we'll get started on the leaves. We're going to go ahead and start the leaves. When you're looking at your fabric and you have the 3 petals on the top and the 3 petals on the bottom, you're going to see this sort of oval shape in between the 4 petals. This is where a full leaf is going to be worked, and the corners of the leaf are going to be joined to the single crochets that you see in the corners. So you're going to want whatever color you're going to use for your leaves. I'm going to use this lighter green color. We're going to make a slip knot. Start with a chain 5. Slip stitch join to the first chain, same way as you have been doing your flowers. Chain 2, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets into that center ring. Chain 1, grab your fabric. We're going to start attaching to the flower that's on the top right side. So you might need to rotate it so it's easier to get to, but you want to find that center stitch in between those 2 petals. That's going to be your single crochet. Then you're going to flip that up so you can see the back side of it, and you're going to insert your hook into that single crochet, working from the back side. So there's that single crochet right there in the center. Insert right into the stitch and complete a single crochet. Go back to that center ring. We're going to do 3 double crochets in the center ring. Chain 1. Now we're going to join to the next flower to the left of where we currently are, and we're going to do it in the same single crochet. So we're going to flip this fabric up so we can see the back side of it. There's the center single crochet, insert into that stitch and complete a single crochet. Then go back to that center ring, work 3 double crochets into it. Chain 1. We'll be joining to the next flower, which is going to be the bottom left one, into the single crochet there. Flip the fabric so you're looking at the back side, insert into the single crochet, and then complete a single crochet. Then come back to the center ring. We're going to work 3 more double crochets in there. Chain 1, there's 1 flower left, flip to the back side, insert your hook into the single crochet and complete a single crochet. Then we'll come back to the very first double crochet that we worked, not the beginning chain, the first double crochet, insert into that stitch and then complete a slip stitch. And then we're ready to fasten off. Now we'll come here and pull up on this loop to break it. I do like to bring it to the back side so it's easy to weave in, so I'm just inserting from underneath into the same stitch I slip stitched to. Yarn over with that tail end and then pull it through. And then I want to make sure all those tail ends that I have are going to be on the back side, so I'm just pulling them underneath. And there we have our leaf in the center of the flowers. Then you'll go to the back side and you'll weave in the center here the same way as you did the center of your flowers, and then weave in the last tail vertically into a double crochet, and you can bring that into the bulkiness of the center ring as well. And then you'll continue adding full leaves into any of the centers that you have 4 flowers together and you have that sort of oval diamond shape. This sample just has 4 flowers, so I just have 1 full leaf. I am going to add some half leaves over here to the right and to the left, but you don't have to if you don't want to. But I like the finish, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let me set this aside. We're gonna go back to our green, go ahead and start with a slip knot, do a chain of 5, slip stitch join to the first one to form a ring, same way as we have been doing, chain 2, then work 2 double crochets into that center ring, chain 1. I'm going to go here to the right side. Now the way this is going to look is it's going to be joined here to the top single crochet on the left side. Then I'm going to join the next one to the bottom left single crochet from the flower underneath it. And then I'm going to finish off in the center ring. And it's not going to be attached here on the right side because we're going to attach that once we come through and we work the final border. So if you're not adding a border onto your project, then this won't have anything to attach to, so then you can leave the half leaves off. If you are going to add a border, then you'll come through and you'll attach that once you come around with the border. So I'm going to come here to the top flower, flip to the back side, insert into that single crochet and complete a single crochet. Then go back to the center ring, work 3 double crochets in there. Chain 1. Now I'll come to the flower underneath it, find that single crochet, flip to the back, insert into it, and then complete a single crochet. Then I'll come back to my center ring and finish it off with 2 double crochets. And I'll fasten off. Come back to this last stitch, pull up on that loop to break it, and there is my half leaf complete. I will go ahead and weave in my ends in a very similar manner as how I've done the center, though I haven't done it yet how I explained. But I'm going to wait until I get the border put on because then it's going to give me a little bit more stability. Now I'm going to add one more half leaf on the other side to the left of the center one. And we're going to start it the same way, work a slip knot, start with a chain 5, slip stitch join to the first chain to form a ring, chain 2, 2 double crochets into that center ring, chain 1, come to my fabric. Since I'm only going to work it with 2 corners like I did this right one, only 2 corners, the first single crochet is going to be down here in the bottom right petal. So I'm going to rotate this fabric, flip to the back, insert into that single crochet, and work a single crochet. Then go back to my center ring, work 3 double crochets in there, chain 1, and then I'm going to attach here into the single crochet from the top right flower. Flip to the back side, insert my hook into that single crochet, complete a single crochet, then come back to my center ring and finish with 2 double crochets. Then I'll go ahead and fasten off. I'll come back here to where I just finished off, pull up on that loop to break it, and again I'll go ahead and weave that in after I get the border put on so I have more stability. But I'm going to go ahead and weave it in a similar manner. And then for however many rows you have, you'll have a full leaf in the center where 4 come together, and then at the beginning and end of the rows you'll have half flowers if you're adding a border. If you're not adding a border, you can leave those off and just leave the shaping as is. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 more half squares to my piece, one at the top and one at the bottom. You would add yours in between your flowers for as many flowers you have in your rows. And we're going to do it in the same way as we did the other ones. These two are pretty much work the same because you'll do this one here on the bottom, then you'll rotate it and you'll add that one at the top. So it is starting with a slip knot, chain 5, slip stitch join to the first chain, chain 2, 2 double crochets into that center ring, chain 1. We're going to go ahead and work the first one here into the single crochet on the right side. So flip that to the back side, insert into the single crochet, and then complete a single crochet. 3 double crochets back into the center ring, chain 1. Then the next one's going to be over here in the single crochet to the left. Flip to the back side, insert into the single crochet and work a single crochet. And then finish this off with 2 double crochets back into that center ring. Then go ahead and fasten off. Pull up on this loop to break it. I'm going to finish mine off with one more half leaf on the right side now, so it'll actually complete the top and the bottom. Go ahead and work as many as you need to finish up your piece, and then we'll jump into the next round of the border. Once you have all your leaves complete, then you'll come here to the top right center petal, insert your hook into that chain space and attach your yarn. I'm just going to pull my yarn through, tie a square knot, that's just one time, then insert my hook back into that chain space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through to complete a chain 1. That's how I like to attach my yarn. You can do so using whatever method is your favorite. And we'll start by working a single crochet into the same exact stitch, inserting right into the center of that chain space. Then we'll chain 4. And this chain 4 begins our repeat. So chain 4, then we're going to work alongside the top of this half leaf. We're going to do 5 stitches in total, with the 3rd stitch being worked into the center ring. And then the other 2 on either side being split in half on that double crochet. So the first one is going to be worked into the top of the double crochet. And then the second one is going to be worked right into the second half of that double crochet, and when you insert your hook here, you're going to do so in the center of that stitch, breaking it in half, and you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Then work the 3rd one right into the center ring. Your 4th one goes into the very first chain, since that's a chain 2 from the beginning, right into the center of the first chain on the bottom. And the second one is going to go into the first double crochet, not into the second chain, but the first double crochet that we worked. That's how you're going to get the most even appearance here. So I'm going to insert there under both loops and complete that 5th single crochet. And here is where we fastened off. That's why this is opening up. So you can just grab that tail end and pull it to close that up. And now we've evenly single crocheted across that half petal, 5 stitches. Then we're going to chain 4 and single crochet into the next chain space of that top center petal from the next flower. I only have 2 flowers here, but if you have more flowers than 2, you're going to continue repeating this for as many flowers as you have until you get to the last one on your row. So from this single crochet that you just finished, you'll chain 4, you'll work 5 single crochets evenly across that half leaf, working the third one in the center ring and splitting the other 2 into that double crochet there on the edge. Then you'll chain 4 and you'll single crochet into the top center petal of the next flower. Once you make it all the way to the last flower of the row, we're going to add what's going to be the corner petal here. And we're going to work that all into the single crochet there of the corner. We're going to start by working 3 treble crochets or triple crochets in there. Yarn over 2 times. Insert your hook into that single crochet. Yarn over, pull through. There are 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over 2 times. Insert your hook into that same single crochet, yarn over, pull through, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then we'll chain 2. We're going to work a quadruple crochet in that same stitch, so you're going to yarn over 3 times, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. This is going to be our cornermost stitch here. Chain 2, and then finish it off with 2 treble crochets. Yarn over 2 times, insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. One more there. Then I'm going to single crochet into the chain space of the next petal. And those 2 single crochets on either side anchor down this corner. We have 5 stitches plus 2 chain spaces for our corner. We're going to work a chain 3, half double crochet into the next single crochet in between those 2 petals, yarn over, insert your hook into that single crochet, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, then chain 3 and single crochet into that next chain space of that next petal. Now we've reached the next half petal, and this space right here between where we are and where the first stitch is smaller than the one on the top where we started. So we're just going to do a chain 2 here. Then we're going to evenly work single crochets across that half leaf. The first one here in the first half of that double crochet. The second one into the second half, inserting my hook right into the middle of that stitch to break it in half, picking up just the 2 loops on the side. Third single crochet into the center ring, 4th single crochet into the first chain, and the 5th single crochet into the first double crochet. Then chain 2, single crochet into the next chain space of the next petal. And I'll come back here and I'll tighten up this first stitch that came loose. And I'm going to lay this flat. You're going to notice if it's too many stitches that you have here, it's going to be a much bigger arch. So if it's too much slack in there, you can take it out and just do a chain 1. If it's caving in on itself, it means it's too tight here, so you'll want to go back and add another chain. And now we're going to continue working in this manner all the way across. If you have more rows of flowers than 2, because remember we're working down the side now, so it's actually going to be facing this way, and then you would have however many rows of flowers. I only have 2, but if you have 3 or more, then you're going to repeat in here again. From the single crochet that we just finished, that's going to be the single crochet right here, you'll do a chain 3, half double crochet into that single crochet in the middle, chain 3, single crochet into the chain space of the next petal, chain 2, evenly single crochet 5 stitches across that half petal, chain 2, single crochet into the next chain space of the petal. Continue working in this manner all the way down until you get to your last flower. Once you've reached your last flower on the side, after we single crochet into the first petal of that last flower, we're going to chain 3, half double crochet into that next single crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space of that next petal, and now we're ready for another corner. As you're working these chain 3s, the same principle applies as I mentioned when you're working over the half leaves. So if this has a bigger arch, it means that there's too much slack in there. You can take a chain out. If it's caving in on itself, it means it's too tight and it needs another chain in there. So just keep an eye on it as you work around. We're ready to work our next corner here. We're going to do 2 treble crochets into that center single crochet, then chain 2, then a quadruple crochet there into that same stitch, yarn over 3 times, there's 4 loops on your hook, insert into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 5 loops now, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, 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 chain 2, then 2 treble crochets back into that same stitch. Single crochet into the next chain space, and I'm going to pull up a loop. Now our next corner is complete. Now let's rotate this. We're going to work this side the same way as we worked at the top. So imagine this stitch is where we tied on down here. We're going to work a chain 4, then evenly single crochet across that half leaf, then chain 4, and single crochet into that next chain space. I'm going to pull up a loop here, go back to where that strand has come loose, and I'll tighten that up. And again, I only have 2 flowers, so I'm ready for my next corner, but if you have more flowers in your row, then you would work another chain 4, evenly single crochet across the next half leaf, chain 4, single crochet into the next chain space of the flower until you get to your last one. Once you've made it to the last one, we're ready for our next corner. 2 treble crochets into that single crochet in the center, chain 2, quadruple crochet into that same stitch, yarn over 3 times, there's 4 loops there, and then just yarn over and pull through 2 stitches until you finish that stitch, chain 2, and then finish that off with 2 treble crochets into that same stitch. Single crochet into the next chain space of the flower, and now that corner is complete. Rotate this to work up the last side. start with a chain 3, half double crochet into that next single crochet, so that's a yarn over, insert your hook into that single crochet, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, chain 3, single crochet into the chain space of the next petal. Now we've reached the half petal, and remember the gap here in between this stitch and that half petal is smaller than the top and bottom, so we're working less chains here. We're going to do a chain 2, evenly single crochet 5 stitches into the side of that half petal, chain 2, single crochet into the chain space of the next petal. Tighten up this loop, and if you have more rows of flowers than 2, you'll continue after that single crochet. That'll put you back in this position. You'll chain 3, half double crochet into the single crochet that's in between the petals, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space of the next petal, chain 2, evenly single crochet 5 stitches across the half petal, chain 2, and single crochet into the chain space of the next petal. And you'll continue all the way until you make it to your last flower. After you work this single crochet here, we're going to do chain 3, half double crochet into that next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space of the next petal, and we're ready here for our very last corner. 2 treble crochets into that single crochet that's in between those petals, chain 2, quadruple crochet into that same stitch, chain 2, 2 treble crochets into that same stitch. Then we're ready to slip stitch join to the first single crochet we started, insert your hook under both loops of that stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch and the loop that's on your hook. And now the border is complete, the foundation for it. If you want to add another round on top of that, you can, but if you want to go ahead and fasten off now, you can as well. At least the foundation is there and it connects all those leaves and flowers and gives the fabric more stability. So if you'd like to add additional rounds, you can do it with any stitch pattern that you like. I'll give an example with single crochet. You would chain 1, single crochet into that first stitch. There are 4 chains here. You're going to single crochet 4 times into that chain space, inserting your hook right underneath the chains and then completing the stitch. Then evenly single crochet into the next 5 stitches. Chain 4 means inserting your hook under the chain, working 4 single crochets, single crochet into the next single crochet. Here in the corner you can do single crochet into each of the next 2 treble crochets, 2 single crochets into that next chain 2 space. Then you need to increase in the corner stitch. I might do single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then working back down, 2 single crochets into the next chain 2 space, single crochet into each of the next 2 treble crochets, single crochet into the single crochet. Then you have a chain 3, that means 3 single crochets, single crochet into the next half double crochet, 3 single crochets into the next chain 3 space, single crochet into the next single crochet, 2 single crochets into the next chain 2 space, evenly single crochet across those next 5 stitches, and continue in the same manner. You can change that up. You can do half double crochets, you can do double crochets, you could do 1 round of regular single crochet and then finish it off with a round of single crochet in the back loop only, or reverse single crochet. There's a lot of fun options that you can do. You'll just want to make sure that you evenly stitch all the way around and increase in the corner stitches for as many rounds as you want to add to your border. Then you'll go ahead and fasten off your yarn, leaving a tail end long enough you can comfortably weave in. Pull up on that loop to break it. Grab your tapestry needle and weave in all your remaining ends. Now you're going to see after that foundation round is put on there that it's a lot easier to weave in these ends as you have these extra stitches here. If you don't add a border after this foundation, but you want to kind of clean up those edges, you can block your finished piece. If you do add another round of the border on top of this, it's going to go ahead and smooth out this wonkiness as well. Guys, thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed this one. This is one of my favorite projects, one of my favorite little motifs to work up and create things with. Let me know, are you going to be adding the border to your table runner? Or are you going to work it like my original one without a border? And I'd love to know what colors you're choosing for your flowers. Remember, you can find the written pattern for this linked in the description box below. It would help me out so much if you would smash that like button to let YouTube know that you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button while you're there, and I'll catch you in the next one.